So I'd like to call the meeting of the Borough of Rockaway Land Use Board to order. And our first order of business is a pledge of allegiance, so all rise please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The open public meeting of adequate status, of adequate notice. I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Rockaway Borough Land Use Board by preparing a notice dated January 7, 2025, specifying the time, date, and place of this meeting, posting such notice on Board of Borough Hall, filing said notice with the clerk of clerk of Morris County, and publishing said notice in the Daily Record newspaper. I hereby hand a copy of such notice to the Secretary of the Borough of Rockaway Land Use Board for inclusion in the minutes, all the above being in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et seq. Open Public Meeting Act, and I am Ken Blair. Again, we don't have a big audience, but in the event we have to leave in a hurry, there's an exit ahead of you to your right or behind you to your left. And may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Tom Mulligan, absent. Ken Beahort.
Here.
Joyce Fireman. Here. Ron Hammond is absent. William Hopler is absent. Mark Howard.
Here.
Jim Hurley.
Here.
Barbara Koch. Here. Janet Leonard is absent. Bob Schaefer is absent. Kim Rose is excused. Ken Blair.
Here.
And all of the professionals are excused.
Yes, thank you. We've excused the professionals. We've excused our legal counsel tonight because we're under the hope that this will be a very brief meeting. We have two items on the agenda. We have a resolution for LUB 100 Ridgeview Rockaway. Due to a request from council for that application, they've requested that that resolution not be brought before us until the March 31st meeting. Hopefully we can take that opportunity to go over it ourselves and make sure that it meets the will of the board. So anyone here, I don't see anyone here from the public, but anyone here from the public that wants to hear that resolution, that will be held at the next meeting. We next have application LUB 101, and this is 285 Franklin Ave. And council, it's your council for this application and have a request for us?
Yes, Gerald Kelly appearing for Mr. Conville, who's the owner of the premises, and the applicant requests that it be carried. There's certain things that have come to our attention recently that we have to get resolved before the application can really move forward smoothly. And for that reason, we're requesting that it be carried.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We need a motion for the board to carry.
A motion to carry.
And no additional notice will be required? Is that that's part of the motion, correct?
That's a request, yes.
Yes.
For additional notice.
Second.
Second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, and we need a roll call, please.
Okay. Ken Beahort.
Yes.
Joyce Fireman. Yes. Mark Howard.
Yes.
Jim Hurley.
Yes.
Barbara Koch. Yes. And Chairman Blair.
Yes. So thank you very much. Again, anyone from the public and people that may be watching us on video, this case will be heard at our April 23rd meeting, 1 month from tonight, God willing. That's correct,
More
Council?
than 1 month from
6
tonight.
More than 1 month. Oh, I'm sorry, it's April, yes. Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
The final piece of business we need to address is we're to review on a land use design and performance standard that the council has been putting into place. It is, they've revised the tree replacement. Okay. Direct quote, the ordinance removed all language around beautification projects and specifies that the funds collected were used for replacement plantings only as required under the setup for designated tree trust funding. So in other words, our old tree removal ordinance we referred back to saying that the money had to be used for beautification projects, was the wording they used. And the wonderful New Jersey courts, as often happens, have decided that verbiage is not correct. It's not really necessarily a beautification project. So they had to redo the ordinance and change the wording so that it no longer said beautification and now is being used for tree replacement. And it's our duty to just review it. We don't have to do any motion or anything. If you see something that looks horribly wrong in it, it's our duty to go to the council and talk to them about it, as a person, not necessarily.
Well, as long as they're using it for only tree issues, on some kind of a tree issue. They're
That's
not
correct.
taking the money out, they are using it for anything else, because that's illegal in the state of New Jersey.
Right, theoretically, in the past, on the wording of ordinance, they could have said, well, we're gonna, plant grass here instead of putting a tree in. But now they have to use it for trees. And sometimes there's a problem in Rockaway Borough. Not much space for trees. So any questions or comments about
So
this?
this was already approved on February 27th by the mayor and council, and we just have to, it's a FYI for us?
Yes,
Is that
it's
correct?
It's an FYI, and as because we're the land use board, we're also required to look at it as part of our
So
duties.
we have to have a formal reply
No,
or anything?
no.
Okay.
Only if we look at it and we go, oh my
Oh,
God,
it'd be a
what are we gonna do?
So,
Because we're the experts in the land use.
right, so you said we don't have to vote or anything?
No, we don't have to
So
vote.
at some point, maybe up to the next meeting, if we look at it and say, we don't, or something like that, we wanna talk about, we can do it then?
Do you wanna vote on it?
Okay, I don't
Do
know,
you wanna vote on it?
I'm just saying, I
No,
haven't
I'm
had a chance
just
to look
taking
at it.
But
February 27th.
yeah, but they only changed a couple of words. And
Oh, okay,
it's not like they changed the thrust that,
okay.
homeowners are still allowed to remove a tree a year or something like that. I forget what the exact wording is.
Okay,
But their definition for clear cutting and all that has all stayed the same.
so it's basically the same except money used
Money
Money
has to be
collected
used for tree
to
replacement.
replace trees and not for beautification projects.
Right.
Got it. Okay,
And it was done under basically court order.
okay. Not, and not an insignificant.
It wasn't something we just did for fun.
Okay.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the board?
Could I just ask that everybody look at the resolution before we come back on the resolution for LUV 100? Because, we had so many conditions that it
It would be very helpful to
It
our
ended up
council to
coming
make,
out by
because
39 resolution.
Did you actually read it?
I did.
Yeah. So how many mistakes did they make?
We went back and forth a couple of times, but 37 conditions of approval, so it's substantial, so, between.
I know, but they've got that 492 or something in trees, it's 700 some plus. I want that out.
Well, then, that's
Yeah,
that we need.
that's what
Right.
we need to do. We need to
Right.
be in that's why he sends us copies early.
Right.
He's
Right.
helping, he's asking us to help for help because he writes down in his notes what he hears, and sometimes notes aren't quite what they should be, as we all know. So, please feel free, you have his email, or email through Colleen if you would rather. And we'll make sure that John, because it's much smoother for our council to have it done properly before the meeting than to try to make corrections at the meeting, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, works for me.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments for the board? Seeing none, we adjourn the meeting.
No open public?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know, usually you don't.
I know, but I have a question.
No,
I do have a question today, I'll surprise you.
All open the meeting to the public?
Oh, thank you, Bonnie Hook, 23 Jackson. On this tree ordinance, you're saying that it's only the beautification that was taken out, it has nothing to do with any negotiations with builders or nothing's gonna change, they still have to pay the same amount?
That's correct.
All right.
When I looked through the ordinance, to the best of my ability to read it, they did not change the fees for trees, they did not change the numbers of trees that you could cut, or what counts, or how big the tree had to be for different costs, all that remained the same.
Okay. My question, I think last time there was a little confusion about who really makes the tree decisions. You said it went back to the council said they didn't do it. Has anybody come to a conclusion of who really negotiates the trees?
Yes, we, as a board, we can only, take as evidence how many trees are gonna cut down, or they will testify what they're gonna do. We make note of that in our minutes. Then it's up to the enforcement officials to follow the ordinance and go to the applicant and have them pay the fees or replace the trees as specified in the ordinance.
Engineer.
And that's the town engineer, is our enforcement officer for that. Should the applicant wish to, like anything else in the United States, they can go to an authority to ask for an appeal from this regulation, from the tree removal regulation. Just like you can go to court and say, I didn't really get a ticket for speeding, I really want to change, that. And it's up then to the governing body, which is our town council, would be their first approach. That would be the first person they would have to approach and say, gee, we're cutting down, 1,000 trees in Rockaway Borough, and that will cost us X number of dollars. Will you grant us some relief from that? Because otherwise it's too expensive, our project can't go forward, and we can't afford to build in the borough, we're gonna build somewhere else. So it's up to the town council then to make a decision, should they grant them relief or not.
Yeah, but they knew that beforehand, so they should
They
have
knew
taken
that
that
beforehand, yes.
into account of how much it was, the
One
pouring
would,
of money to build that project.
one would hope,
$250 a tree,
one would hope,
What?
$250 a tree,
Yeah.
Why said it to me?
yeah,
$250.
one would hope.
I mean, I know what you're told before,
And
it
then
sounded
they-
like he's gonna go to the council.
Yeah, then they still have the right, like we all do, they can go to the courts, and they can say the tree removal ordinance is unconstitutional, it's infringing on my rights, and I want to appeal against it. So there are avenues of appeal from any law in the United States. But the tree removal ordinance is a law, and people are expected to follow it. But because we live in America, you always have a way to hire a lawyer and work your way through difficulties.
But he's being approved pending that he agrees upon our rules, right?
That's correct.
So he's agreeing to the tree ordinance at the time of approval.
That's correct.
He could just appeal it later, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
He's telling us how many trees are cut down, and that he knows that there's an ordinance that he has to replace them. They've acknowledged that. Now, whether they follow the rules or not, then they get fined if they don't, because our engineers actually take the care to keep count of that stuff. And hopefully everything is good.
When would the monies be due on the trees, like that type of thing? Like how long do they have? When they cut them down, how long after do they have to pay?
I don't know.
Before CO is issued.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, before
So
CO, okay.
They have to, yeah, that's one of the requirements. There's, before you can get your certificate of occupancy.
You have to agree,
there's a whole
everything has,
checklist of things.
got it,
To make
okay.
sure all the fees are paid, when an applicant comes before us, they have to pay money to our professionals, to our zoner and our engineer, part of their pay comes from the applicant, so there's all this money, escrow money that has to be paid, all of the, building inspectors have to check off, construction, this, the electrical,
And I asked
the
them,
water.
as we're going, if their escrow is depleted, they have to replenish it.
Got it. Well, that,
So they can have everything built they want, nobody can move in until they pay the fee.
right, right.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate you explaining that, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And since we are going out onto the internet, I've heard that there were questions about why the elected officials are excused from some of our meetings, why they're not here. The land use board is a conglomeration of two different boards. Every municipality in New Jersey is required to have two zoning boards. One is the zoning board, which is the board that grants people variances from the law. Whenever people come before us, they want to put a deck on their house that's too close to the side, to the property line. They would be in violation of the law if they built it. So we can look at the special circumstances around their concerns and what they're building, and we can grant them an exception from the law, a variance. For that type of a case, the elected officials are not allowed to be with us. They're not actually excused, they're forbidden to come here. Because should we say deny an application, should we say no, the applicant's first way to appeal our decision is they go to the elected officials, to the town council. And they would state their case before the town council. I wanna build my deck, the zoning board said no, and I think they ruled improperly, can you guys please review it, and then the town council is allowed to overrule our decision.
I can elaborate on that as well. The mayor and council are both class 1 and class 2. They're not permitted to hear a D variance. Should this board deny them, it gets thrown back to the mayor and council.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not allowed to hear it.
Right, there's certain types of variances under
And
the
the
law.
last one was a big one, but it was a D variance because of the height of the roof was 4 inches higher, so put it into a D category, they were not permitted to sit.
Right,
I contacted John Mills and we talked about it, and that's why the mayor and the councilman were not here.
right, that brings up an interesting thing, that this big project came before us basically for a technicality. If they put a flat roof on their building, they would have not needed any variances at all. They could have just gone ahead, had the permits issued, and they would have gone
Zoning
forward.
officer.
That was the only reason they were here,
And then they added the signs and stuff. Yeah.
but they didn't have to put signs up, they didn't have to, they could have just,
I think in the walls over here.
no,
No, because the roofs, the walls are, if the walls were so high, it had to have, it was part of the
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah,
yeah, they can have a wall, I mean,
Yes, that's
there's
fine.
putting 2 walls, so they really didn't break the rule of height of the walls.
I
There
I
was-
thought the
there's a
wall, I said
statute.
6 feet was the highest wall could be, and they're like 10 feet,
It is
There
6
was
feet.
17.
or 17 feet.
Yeah.
It is 6 feet for building permit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wall's too high.
But anyhow,
But anyway,
it was,
it was 2 minor things, really,
they spent a lot of time and money to present a case to us
for minor things.
for what turns out to be minor things, but that's the way the rules work, because it helps protect the town to make sure that we don't have things running amok. We've kind of over-answered your question, I hope that helps.
That's okay, any information is always good.
Very good,
I mean, I didn't question that, but that's okay.
thank you. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned, and thank you all very much for coming tonight.